Hello, dear students. We will start with the seventh chapter in science, that is force and types of force. Now, you must have observed that no object changes its position on its own. To change the position of any object, we have to apply a force and then only the object moves. We will be studying in detail about what is force, what are the different types of force, and how these different types of force work. Now here in the picture we can see that no object changes its position on its own, but a force is required to change the position of the object. So force is always necessary for making an object move, to change the direction of the object in motion or to stop it, and also to change the shape of the object. For all of this thing, if you have to do any of these things, force is necessary. Now children, there are various types of forces that is required for different type of activity. For example, when you are riding a bicycle, different type of force is used. When you are lifting a heavy object, a different type of force is used. Even in your magnets, different type of force is there. So there are various types of force that is used in our day-to-day life activities. So we will be learning about these different types of force. The first type of force is muscular force. Now, muscular force is the force which is applied with the help of our muscles. Now, your muscles are from the arms or your legs. So, the force which is applied with the help of muscles is called as the muscular force. Now, what can be the example of muscular force? For example, you are lifting a heavy object, or when a person is doing exercise, he is lifting a dumbbell. So when a person is lifting a dumbbell, he is using the force of his muscles to lift the dumbbell. So as the muscles are involved and we apply the force from the muscle, so that is why it is called as muscular force. And another example of muscular force, when a bullock pulls the load on a cart which is full with sugarcane, so he uses the force of his muscles. So this is the muscular force. So wherever you use the force of your muscles to do a type of work, so that time the force which is applied, that is called as the muscular force. The second type of force is mechanical force. Now we use many appliances in our day-to-day life. Those are all machines. So when you use the force of the machine, so this is called as the mechanical force. So if you want to define mechanical force, so the force applied by the means of a machine is called as mechanical force. Now some machines run by muscular force also. For example, when you are pulling the bucket full of water from a well. So in that we are using muscular force as well with the help of machine. And some use electricity or fuel. So there are different, that is two types. You can either use machines to by using your muscular force, or you can use electricity to run the machines. Now for example of the mechanical force like washing machine, electric pump, all of these uses electricity to work. The third type of force is gravitational force. Now you must have seen when an apple falls from the tree, why the apple always falls in the downward direction, why it does not go in the upward direction. It is because on the earth there is some force that is called as the gravitational force which pull it downwards, and that is the reason why we are able to walk properly on the ground. And when we go on the space, we are not able to walk on the ground because there is no gravitational force on the space. So on the earth we have gravitational force which helps us to pull us down, and that is why we can easily walk on the roads, that is we can easily walk the apple or anything which you drop from the top, it always goes down. So, if you have to define gravitational force, the force applied by the earth to pull the object towards itself is called as the gravitational force. And the example, when a fruit falls from a tree, it is the gravitational force of the earth that pulls the fruit downwards. Now, gravitational force was discovered by a scientist that is called as the Sir Isaac Newton. Now, he discovered gravitational force in 17th century, and he discovered this force when he was sitting under the apple tree and an apple came and fall on his head. And so he then made researches why apple always falls down, and then he came to know that this is the gravitational force. So he concluded that the Earth's gravitational force acts in a direction which is opposite to that of the object which is moving upwards. Hence, the speed of that object goes on decreasing till in the end it becomes zero. Then the object starts falling down instead of going up. While falling, its speed goes on increasing all the time due to the gravitational force only. Now, children, there is one concept that greater force must be applied to lift a greater weight. For example, if you see in the second picture, this man, when he is carrying a sack, now this sack is, for example, 2 kgs. So that time he won't be requiring to use more amount of force. That is, he is not using greater amount of force. But when we replace the sack with 10 kgs or 15 kgs, so then that time he is not able to carry it because at that time greater amount of force is required. Same if you will see here, when this boy is dropping the stone in the water, so when he is dropping it from a lower distance, then the splash of water is not that great. But when the same stone is dropped from a higher, that is from a top, then you can see there is more amount of splash of water, or the droplets of water which come out are more. So this is because the greater force is applied when we have to lift a greater weight. And in the first picture you will see that here as there was no splash of water, so the sound which used to come, that is also very less, but here the sound which will come, it will be more. Now here what is applying is that is more force is there here, and that is why we can hear a greater sound. Now next is, that is the fourth type of force, is magnetic force. Now can you all guess what is magnetic force? Well, the force which is exerted by a magnet is called as the magnetic force. So in a pin holder, you may find that there is magnet. Then the magnet which is there, it attracts the pins. So this is called as the magnetic force, the force which is exerted by the magnets. The next type of force, that is the fifth type of force, is frictional force. Now children, you must have seen that whenever someone walks on a banana peeling, that person slips and fall down. And even when you are playing carom, and if you add little powder to the board, then it's easy to strike the coins. So all of this is because a force that is called as frictional force. In the smooth surface, the frictional force is less, whereas in the rough surface, the frictional force is more. So when two surfaces, they rub against each other, a force of friction is produced. And this force always acts against direction of motion. For example, a ball rolling over a flat surface stops at a certain distance due to the friction between the ball and the surface. So this type of force which is there between the two surfaces is called as the frictional force. Next type of force is electrostatic force. Now, what you can do is take a plastic comb or a plastic scale and try to rub it against your hair. After rubbing it, just go and take that comb near the bits of paper. But do remember that there should be very tiny bits of paper. You will see that the bits of paper are attracting towards the comb. And why it is attracting towards it? Because a force is generated that is called as an electrostatic force on the comb or the scale. And when the bits of paper come in contact with that force, they go and try to attract that thing. So this is called as the electrostatic force, or you can also say static electricity. So Static electricity is produced on materials like rubber, plastic, and ebonite. Now, ebonite is nothing but hard rubber. Now, in all these substances, due to friction, the force exerted by electrically charged material is called as the electrostatic force. So, as you are rubbing the comb on your hairs, so what is happening is a charge is creating on them. And when you go and take that comb near the bits of paper, so as the different charge is there on the bits of paper, and there is some charge on the comb, so both the charges they try to attract each other, and that is the reason why that bits of paper go and stick to the comb. You can also try it with a balloon, and you will see that the papers which are there, the small pieces, they go and attract to the balloon as well. So this is called as the electrostatic force. Now next type of force is combined force. Now what can be combined force? Think. Now combined forces are when all the forces they try to act on an object. Like when more than one or two forces act on an object, that time it is called as the combined force. Now you must have seen that a roller coaster. Many types of forces acts on it. Even when you ride a bicycle, you will see that there is different type of forces which are acting on it. Your muscular forces used, then frictional forces there, mechanical forces there. So when two or three types of force act on an object, that is called as the combined force. So children, we have learned that the force is required to bring about any action. Force is necessary for making an object move, to change the direction of motion, and also to change the shape of an object. And we also learned about the different various types of forces. First was muscular force, then was mechanical force, gravitational force, magnetic force, frictional force, electrostatic force, and combined force.